friends, and welcome back to my homestead. Today I am in the kitchen again. Why? Because I am still on my soupology theme and I'm going to be making another very special soup today. But guess what? We don't dare to call it soup because it earned its own name. We're going to be making borscht. So we don't even call borscht a soup. We just call it on its own name, just borscht. So I'm going to be making my version of Ukrainian borscht because just like any family, every family has its own version of borscht and we all love our versions, and this is my version. Okay, so what do I need for my borscht today? Well, obviously we're going to start with a very good meat stock that I made a few hours ago, and it boiled for 4 hours, and it's pork based, but you can do chicken based or beef based. It's up to you. And I'm going to use 2.5 quarts of stock, and then the rest is all vegetables. So let's take a look. We're going to start with some potatoes, and if you have large, 3 is enough, but these are medium size, so I'm going to use 4. 2 small red beets, couple of medium sized carrots, 1 onion. I'm going to use maybe 3 or 4 little cloves of garlic, half a head of cabbage, and in my recipe I'm going to be using tomato paste. This is almost quarter of a cup of tomato paste, and that's how my mama always did it. If we had fresh tomatoes, she used fresh tomatoes, and guess what, friends? I have some fresh tomatoes. I have my trusty box of tomatoes that I wrapped in a newspaper that I took down 3 weeks ago from my greenhouse. And check this out, aren't they beautiful? Oh, they're lovely. So I will use just 1 because I really don't have that many of them left, and I will save the rest for my salad. So, but you don't have to use fresh tomatoes. You can always use just 2 very large tablespoons of tomato paste, or about quarter of a cup. And then we always finish with some greens, and of your choice. We have scallions and dill, but you can use parsley as well. But I'm gonna finish my borscht with a very special method that my mama did long time ago, and I will never forget. So I have my mortar pestle ready for me to be used at the end. Oh, one thing I forgot is I need to go grab a bay leaf as well. And obviously salt and pepper to taste, and a little bit of olive oil because we have to saute these guys to make our zajarka. So I peeled all of my vegetables. Make everything nice and easy, and I'm gonna start by chopping all of my vegetables. So the potatoes need to be chopped in small manageable sizes, not just because I want them to cook fast, but also because they need to be in a manageable size and fit on the spoon comfortably. Remember, this is for borscht, not for stew. Okay, here comes the onion. And the onion will be sauteed with the carrot and the beets, and what we in my language call zajarka. Zajarka, it's the base. It's the base for any soup. Okay. Basically, basic translation is to roast or saute root vegetables. All right, push it to the pile over here, and now I'm going to be shredding my carrots just like we did when I was little. Okay, now the red beets. The red beets can be shredded as well, or you can cut them in small chunks, but then they will cook longer. Okay, so it's time to start making zajarka. So I have this very large pan that it's actually cast iron, but you can use any heavy, thick bottom pot you want. And I'm just gonna warm this up a little bit. And I'm going to be adding a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. 1, 2, about that. Again, I don't like to measure those type of things. All right, and let that warm up. All right, so the oil warmed up, and I'm gonna start with, look at this beautiful Ukrainian trilogy. We got the onion, we got the carrot, we got the beets. So we're gonna start with the onion. And it's going to saute for 3-4 minutes, just until it turns translucent. I don't want it to be brown or anything. So while the onion is sauteing nicely, it's gonna take a few minutes to do that. I'm just gonna come over to my next pot where I made my pork stock, and it cooked for beautifully 4 hours. Look at this color. Isn't this something? So in the middle of it, I have a gigantic piece of, it's all falling apart. And I'm just going to put it all on the platter so I can separate the meat from the bone, because I'm going to be using that meat in my borscht. All right. So the onion is turning golden and translucent, and I'm going to be adding the carrot next. Look at this beautiful pile of yellow golden goodness. And that is going to cook with the onion for the next 3-4 minutes as well, until everything gets nice and soft. All right, so the carrot is nice and soft, and it's already changed the color to nice and pale. It's time to add the third Holy Trilogy, and that's the beets. And now they're all going to cook together again for the next few minutes. It's okay if the beets are not completely cooked all the way, because beets are very hard vegetable, and it takes a long time to cook. But look at this beautiful color already. So that's going to cook all together as well for 3-4 minutes, maybe something like that. Just okay. So everything's been sauteing for about 4 minutes. Everything is nice and soft. Now remember that tomato that I guys showed you, and Mama would use more tomatoes when it was a season. So I'm just gonna run them through a cheese grater, because I don't want any skins in here. I just want the flesh of the tomato itself. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that just to get a little bit of freshness of tomato inside. The other thing that Mama often added when it was in season, when we had fresh peppers like bell pepper or red pepper, something like that, not spicy, just the regular bell peppers. Why? Because again, that adds a beautiful fresh taste to borscht. But again, only when it was a season, during the summer season. This is often cooked in the cold winter months, so only root vegetables are used. Now I'm going to be finishing with the tomato paste, and this is going to be my zajarka. Zajarka is, as I tried to explain to you, I could not find translation for it. This is the base for any soup, for any sauce, and in this case, this is borscht zajarka. All right, let this cook just for a little bit more, but again, be careful because tomato paste likes to burn, so you gotta be quick. And I turn my heat all the way down. I'm just gonna add a little bit of water so it doesn't burn to the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to put a cover on and let it cook for the next 5-10 minutes on very gentle heat. Now it's a great time to cut up all of the herbs, and we love to add herbs, not just because they smell good and taste good, but because we also know that they're very medicinal, and we always make sure to add that. So I'm going to chop everything nice and small and get that ready for the end of my borscht. Okay, so zajarka is done. Everything is nice and soft. It's perfect. And here are my potatoes. Okay, so now let's add the stock. Okay, so I'm gonna increase the heat back up to high, and I'm gonna wait until the broth and everything comes back to boil and the potatoes begin to cook. Look at this beautiful color. Isn't it something? In the meanwhile, we're gonna be shredding cabbage. Okay, so now, like I said, you can shred them in any way you possibly want to, but I'm gonna try to shred them in very thin pieces. And then when I have a little pile, I go like this and like this. So they are in pieces that will literally fit on my spoon. See what I mean? So they are still thin little shreds, but they will fit on my spoon. Okay, again, a little pile, and then I come back and I do this and I do this. Okay, friends, do you remember me taking out this meat and bones? I'm going to be separating all of this now because there's a lot of beautiful meat. All right, so I need to check on my potatoes and see how they're doing. I cut them pretty small, so they should cook pretty fast. And the other reason why I like to cook them, this is how I check to see if they're done. Yep, they're done, nice and soft. It breaks on my spoon. All right, so now I'm going to be adding the cabbage that I shredded, and hopefully I have enough space because I have a lot of cabbage here, people. Yay, enough space. So the cabbage is going to cook for the next few minutes. And at this point, I also like to add the bay leaf, because the bay leaf should be added in the last few minutes. Why? Because you want it to add a good flavor to your soup. Just one bay leaf is enough. Okay, so we're going to finish my borscht not just with the bunch of greens that I normally go and garlic, which I always put at the end, but this is something that Mama did. She would take a small piece of sala. Sala is a fatty part of the bacon, okay, pork belly, and it's salted. She would cut them into small pieces, just like this. And she has the pestle and mortar, just like this, mortar and pestle. And then you put that inside, and you put your garlic inside as well. And you begin to mush them all together until it creates nice even paste. So it created this thick garlic paste with bacon fat, pretty much. And this is what I'm going to be finishing my borscht with. Okay, so borscht should be coming to its completion. I'm going to be returning back the meat that we have removed from the bone. I'm going to put it all in here. Okay. I'm going to be adding now all of this garlic paste that I have made with bacon fat. This was especially added if Mama made broth using chicken, because chicken usually was not very fatty, and borscht is supposed to be a very hearty, not low fat, not something that people should eat on a diet. Because this is very put some meat in your bones type of soup. All right, and now I'm going to actually, you know what, I probably should put my salt now. As how much salt should be to taste. Okay, and same thing with black pepper. I'm just going to grind some extra fresh black pepper here, and that should be to taste as well. I do not put any other spices except for pepper and the bay leaf. And now I'm going to finish everything with my greens, big pile of greens. So friends, my borscht is finished and it's ready to be served to my family. I always let it rest for about 10 minutes covered, and I've tasted it and it's perfect, absolutely perfect, just like my mama taught me to make Ukrainian borscht. So I'm gonna serve it tonight to my family on a cold winter night for dinner. And as always, we finish it with a nice dollop of sour cream, And then of course I'm going to garnish it with some greens for a color and for a little bit of flavor. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to make some soups this month. I hope you're learning something. I am hoping that you are encouraged and try something new.